If you're interested in wealth management or just financial planning, you're gonna have to take 3 exams. The SIE, the Series 7, and the Series 66. These 3 exams can seem overwhelming, but honestly, talking from my own experience that I just took all 3 and passed them all in my first try, I can tell you they're really not that hard. If you put in the hours, study, and apply the 3 tips I'm gonna give you today, you will pass. Let's get to it. Now, my first tip is the order in which to take the exams. You should definitely start with the SIE. Now, to give you guys a little bit of background from these exams, you're basically gonna have 2 main topics. There's gonna be the regulations, so the laws that you have to memorize, and then there's gonna be the finance, so all the financial instruments, analysis, etc. All 3 exams are gonna have a little bit of both, but the SIE is gonna be the foundation because it's gonna cover pretty much like 50-50. Also, if you measure the exams by the length of the books that you use to study, the SIE is the shortest one, being around 220 pages compared to the other 2 that are like 550 each. So definitely start with the SIE. Then for the second one, here's where I become a little different to what other people say. I think you should definitely go with the 66 second. The 66 focuses in regulations, and regulations is something that you're gonna see in all 3 exams. If you get to the regulations and just get that over with after you take the SIE, it's gonna be great because you can put that behind you, and also when you have to study the regulations for the Series 7, you're not gonna have to focus on them that much because you already have the foundation of having passed the 66. Like I said, this is a hot take because a lot of people say that you should take the 7 right after the SIE, but I did it this way and I really think it helped me a lot. And lastly, you take the Series 7. As you may know, the SIE and the 66 you can take by yourself by just paying for it, going and taking the exam. That's what I did. The Series 7 is the only one that requires sponsorship, so you have to be employed by a FINRA member, and then they have to sponsor you for you to go and take the exam. As you may know, I did videos on all 3 of these, which you can definitely check it out and see my specific tips for every single one of them. My second tip is timing your study. Every single time I will sit down to study, I will have a stopwatch on my wrist and I will literally start the stopwatch every single time I was studying. If I will take a break to go get coffee, to just look at my phone or just lay in my bed, I will stop the watch. This is something I learned from studying for the CFA, and it's something that they really recommend so you can measure how much time you're actually putting in. There's nothing that will guarantee that if you put X amount of hours, you will pass the exam. However, a lot of times we say, oh, I have to study all afternoon. And then, we finish the end of the afternoon and you're like, oh, wow, I studied so much. But in reality, you were wasting a lot of time going on your phone, laying in your bed, etc., etc. This really helped me when I started studying for all these exams because I will sit down to look at the material, putting a lot of effort, and then be like, all right, it's time for a break. And then look at my watch and there only been like 15 minutes, which is not a whole lot. So if you use a stopwatch, it's gonna be a perfect measure of the amount of effort that you're putting in and give you a lot of confidence by the time you go and take the exam. And before I give you my last tip, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel. I do a lot of videos where I try to share all my tips and help you guys, and I also answer all the questions that you might have down in the comments, as well as if you want to see anything else specific, make sure that you leave it down there because I will definitely go and do that video for you. And lastly is study routine. If you're taking this exam, you're probably gonna be working, and that science or that art of working and study can take a lot of time to develop and actually get a good grasp. So here's what I did. I will study every single day during the week around 2 hours. It is very hard for you to study more than 2 hours, maybe push into like 3 after you've worked an entire workday. Which is why sometimes I'll actually try to start studying before my workday. I did a full video about it where I mentioned my best tips to work and study full time for whatever you're studying for, so you can definitely check it out and get some great recommendations from there. And then besides the 2 hours I will do during the weekday, I will do between 3 to 5 hours every single day during the weekend. This will take you a lot of time to develop because it's not easy to sit down and be looking at the material for a full 3 hours. So get in that grind and slowly you're gonna be able to take 3 hours, 4 hours, and 5 hours. Doing more than 5 hours is very hard and your mind is just gonna be exhausted, so don't push it. The faster you can get to that level of studying between 16 to 20 hours during a week, the faster you're gonna be able to take the exam and be ready. So take your time. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon, but kind of start getting into it and start developing that resistance of being able to study while working full time. I always say it and I will continue saying it. Practice, practice, practice. Put in the work study hard, and you got this. See you next time.